Hey, Brent. We didn't talk about gear at all on this thing, and I know that you're a big gearhead. You love talking about types of drums and that kind of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about that. What's your current favorite drum kit that you're using right now?
Well, when you and I toured together, I was using, I think I had it was a DW Maple kit on that tour.
Yep.
And in the subsequent tours, I've actually been experimenting with a plexiglass kit that now Quake, who has been mixing us, in the last several years, he actually said he really liked the sound of that kit. And I thought it was my favorite kit to play. It just had a lot of, the sound really came out towards me. And, everyone loves wood kits. But I really thought that was a secret weapon, was having this plexiglass kit on tour.
Interesting.
And, and I started to move away from using triggers, because you and I had used, triggers as well as, just live mics. And, but, it's interesting having so many experiences with different sound guys. When we first worked together, because, I had really watched all your mic choices on the toms and the overheads. And I think we all agree, like, a 57 is still a great, snare drum choice. But in the kick drum, I don't remember if we had a 91 going on with a D, what's the other one, the Shure mic, or what are yours?
B52. Yeah.
Do you like an Audio Technica in the kick drum, or what's your?
I like a Telefunken M82, but I don't know
right.
that I was using it on that gig. I think it was a 52, wasn't it?
Yeah, 52 and a 91 and the 91 was probably on a Kelly shoe, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I eventually got them mounted. I had DW mount this called a rail system. So they put that, and it was bulletproof, because, when you go between countries and your gear's just up and down every day, it takes abuse. But, and I ended up learning a lot from both you guys, because Tater, I hadn't used all those Waves plugins in monitors. And that sort of was a game changer to me, because I never had to ask, hey, can you turn this down? Can you give me a little, like, you kind of just said it. And I came to you and go, well, I don't know what you've done, but you've educated me on, this is the new next level of monitors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, on Iron Maiden, we use a rail system too. It's made by Randall May. I wonder if
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice stuff. Randall May.
Through DW.
Yeah, that's a great system.
Great system.
Yeah. And the Kelly shoes are great, because they isolate the kick drum mic. And then, I put it in all my kits. After the Vistalite kit, I had another wood kit, and James, my drum tech, was saying that and Quake on sound said that of the two kits I had, I remember DW asked me if I would try a stainless steel kit on the last Slash tour. And I don't know if you've had that experience, Pooch, out front with a stainless steel kit. But
I've had a snare drum that was stainless steel, but I've never had a whole kit that was.
Well, the drums are heavy, and they're very, I guess to me, they could, maybe some people think they're a little harsher and more metallic, but I don't know. I thought it again was a great sounding kit, and DW did a great job. But IME and both Quake were kind of like, because we would always have our A and B rigs with Slash. And so the B rig was just a good old, with butter edges, like rounded, tried and true, like a vintagey sounding, good old, wood kit. And those guys both were like, that's the best sounding kit. It fucking wins. It's so warm. And so, yeah, I mean, I always like to, it's like gear is always, guitar players are worse than drummers probably for trying, hitting you up with, hey, I'm going to try this guitar tonight. You're like, oh man, just nonstop amps and guitar changes. But with drums, I find that I've switched more to organic and getting off the triggers and just finding, it's really up to the sound guy. If you don't have a good sound guy putting, the drums in the mix, then it's not going to matter. But thankfully I've had you, Pooch,
You've had a good run.
Yeah. You know what? Because Pooch, when I listen on my phone on YouTube, you've got the best mix.
Yeah, thanks. Man,
it's so funny how
when the first iPhones came out, I can't tell you how many artists were like, hey, what about this? And it was the worst microphone in like the iPhone 3 or whatever, and I was like, this is not an accurate representation of what's happening out there. But what's funny is we've kind of come full circle, and now all the technology is caught up. And actually a phone recording of stuff is almost pretty close to what's happening out there. So
it's much better. But I still say an artist that, goes to a YouTube clip of their own show from some fan and says, hey, I can't hear the guitar in the mix. Right. It's like, fuck off. Come on. Yeah, it's not right. It's not fair.
That's crazy.
Or of a certain security guy running through all over the stage and stopping the guitar player from playing too. Now, speaking of Mr. Mark, do you think he was ahead of his time wearing the face covering around his neck all these years?
Wow. Interesting.
He was ahead of his time. We were talking about this the other day. The bandana, he was ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time.
I think, plus you can find him in a crowd. Yeah. So, he's a standout guy. And hey, and he's got the best nickname. So it's all about nickname, guys. You got a bandana and the nickname Quake. Yeah. Hey, we got to give Quake kudos. Not only is he one of our favorite people and one of the best sound guys, but he did save Slash's life.
He did.
And that's another sixth sense. Is he was very important in having skills to make sure his artist, didn't die.
Yeah, survived. Thanks, Quake. We love you.
we love Quake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right.
Is he listening?
Hey, one other question I want to ask about drums, because almost every drummer that I know doesn't ignore it, but kind of an afterthought are cymbals, right? And so a lot of times I've worked with a lot of drummers where the drum kit sounds amazing, but the cymbals sound like trash can lids.
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I think guys don't figure out when they're on stage, it's different than when they're in the studio. So, and I'm very respectful of, in the studio, you want to find the best sounding, and you shouldn't kill the cymbals. That's what Eric Valentine, producer extraordinaire, had really honed me in when we did the first Slash record, Apocalyptic Love, and he had me tap the cymbals in the studio and crush the drums, kick right through the kick drum. So, but when it comes to performing live, that visually just doesn't even work. You have to have the similar impactfulness if you're playing rock music. So, but then if you're playing thin cymbals and you're killing those cymbals, you're going to get that psh, and everything's going to be choked. So I think drummers have to find what sticks work with what cymbals, because you're projecting to the cymbals bleed in every vocal mic.
Yep.
That's a whole mix nightmare unto itself, right? But I think I was telling you guys recently about my experience on the last tour. We switched over to having plexis in front of the cymbals. And I think Quake has been thankful on the Slash tour with that, because it does, first of all, if a singer comes by the drums, it's not bleeding into the vocals. But I think it's a good control, just for that stage volume. But all of those things affect us guys on stage. Like, well, it doesn't look cool. But, if it does help the mix, I am always going to support that. But, having plexiglass does pose problems with visuals, because when the lights reflect off it and a band guys, if Slash is looking at me from, coming up close, you can't always see the person, and it's very disruptive. But hey, if it sounds good out front, I'm all for it.
That's awesome. So give a shout out. What sticks do you use and what cymbals do you use?
I use Vader's, and I have a MV10 model that I love. And my sticks are like they're great because I do so many gigs, different styles, different volumes. So playing with the Guess Who, playing drums, that's a very light touch, subtle gig. You can't crush it. And then Slash is just sheer rock intensity. So, but I actually found a great stick that kind of is a happy medium. It's a thinner stick, but it lasts, and I use grip tape. And I love Sabian cymbals because there's so many consistencies in those cymbals. If you break a cymbal, and every so many shows, you might break a cymbal, just depends. And if you put that cymbal up in the middle of the gig, the matching cymbal, it's the same cymbal. That's very important. I love those cymbals, and they are actually durable. You know, we all love different cymbals for different reasons. Some guys, you know, use different cymbals in the studio or whatever, but I've just been lucky since I was a little kid. I always played Sabians, and I like to stay with gear that I'm comfortable with all these years. I don't really waffle too much, and I'm not a guy that's always trying the new great. You know, it's like tried and true.
Man,
for
if
me.
it
And maybe
works,
you guys
stick with it. Yeah.
I mean, do you feel the same way with, you know, outboard gear? Is it a little more?
Oh, we do. I
everything?
think, you know, we try to stay up with technology, and there comes a point where you have to be like, okay, the new technology is kicking the old technology's ass, and you have to make a move. But for the most part, like, I definitely stick with the same things for different bands, you know, whether I'm doing Justin Bieber or Slash, I use the same, you know, the same gear.
What's cool is that you have done Justin Bieber and Slash. Hey, Tater, what's the anomaly gig that you've had under your belt?
Oh, wow. Good question. You know, I don't have that diverse of a resume, really. When you really think about it, I tell you what, at the time, Linkin Park was probably my most
outside of your box a little bit. Yeah.
Outside of my box a bit. You know, I've been I got caught in the hard rock, heavy metal vein, and I've been in it, and it's the music I grew up with. So I know when the verses come, and I know when the guitar solos come, and I know when the chorus. It's like it just clicks second nature, you know. It just happens in my brain, you know. So there's, but yeah, you know, we were talking about this the other day. I just don't have really that diverse of a resume, and I'm probably at this point in my career, it's not going to change, you know.
But if you were called upon to say, Lady Gaga, I think your skill set would still be, you've worked with so many different singers and different, you know, musicians that you could get to that, you know, so that artist would be happy, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah, thank you. I'd like to think so.
No, I mean, that's absolutely true. So. You know, he has the knowledge and the ability, like you said earlier, about getting along with people. Those are way more important than any sort of like, do I know how to mix pop music versus rock? He's got all the right skills.
You know, the musicians are going to tell you what they want, and they're going to guide you to get that mix anyway, to get what they want. So it's, that's not really the tough part. I just, you know, it's just odd. It's just the way my career rolled, and hey, I've done all right. So
I got to ask you this, Tater. So touring with Gene Simmons in the last couple of years, myself in his solo band, and we didn't have a consistent crew because it was all fly dates all around the planet to faraway places. And the most expectation out of Gene for monitors was he needed to be able to see the monitor guy, and he needed to be able to hear him. And he also wanted to have a connection with the front of house guy and be able to communicate. And it's amazing how, like, just on, you know, a fly date, when you have a crew and they, you know, don't even realize, well, you should have, like, where is your mic to talk to the artist from stage to get that mix going? It's amazing how many people fail. Like, you need to have communication, and you should be able to talk to your guy. And Gene wasn't using in-ear monitors on a lot of these gigs, so just get the monitors up and loud and quick. But it's amazing. I can't see the monitor guy. Where the fuck's the monitor guy? Like,
oh man,
that's epic fails.
He's all about locking on. There's no doubt about it. So if you lock on to him,
can't see you. Yeah. Bad.
Yeah, you've survived touring with Gene Simmons, right? I mean, that and Kiss is a very
and Eric Singer.
We have both survived Kiss in different time periods,
so Pooch, if you are doing a Bieber mix or an Iron Maiden mix, is that artist, like you said, because we've talked, you know, over dinners and stuff, like the Iron Maiden guys are pretty hands-on and do really care about the front of house mix. Would a Justin Bieber have an opinion? Okay.
None whatsoever. He trusts his musical director,
right,
to make sure that, you know, whatever he's doing is being translated. I had no interaction really with Justin Bieber at all. It was totally with the musical director and management.
Okay, what about, because I know you did Alanis Morissette, Canadian. How was it working with her? Any interaction?
She's awesome. And
right?
She does have interaction and will talk about what her needs are. And her band is amazing too. So
cool.
I loved working for her. I would do it again.
Yeah, we love her too. We covered her on our Toque record.
I know you did.
We did one of her tunes.
I think that was one of the songs you played at whatever that bar was in Winnipeg.
Nashville.
In Winnipeg. Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Anyway. Well, listen, Brent, thank you for coming, man. We certainly appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be seeing each other soon despite all this COVID crap. And I know I'm looking forward to that.
I know we will, and I am looking forward to it too. But it was great talking with you guys today, and made it felt like a gig. Felt like we went and rocked for a couple hours.
We just needed some catering, and it would have been perfect.
Cool.
Right?
Well, thanks a lot, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks again, gentlemen. See ya.